I watched Emily storm into Mr. Parker's office like a woman possessed. Through the glass walls, I could see her gesturing angrily, her face flushed with emotion. The entire floor went silent. Everyone stopped typing, stopped talking, stopped breathing. We all knew what was happening. Emily had finally reached her breaking point with our boss's unethical practices. For months, she'd witnessed Mr. Parker manipulate client accounts, forge signatures on documents, and blame junior employees for his mistakes. She complained to HR 3 times. Nothing changed. Now she was confronting him directly. Mr. Parker's face turned purple with rage. He stood up, shouting something I couldn't hear through the glass. Then he pointed at the door. Emily shook her head, refusing to back down. She pulled out her phone, probably showing him evidence she collected. That's when everything went wrong. Mr. Parker pressed his desk phone, calling security. 2 guards appeared within minutes. They escorted Emily out while she protested loudly. "You're fired for insubordination and creating a hostile work environment," Mr. Parker announced to the entire office. "Let this be a lesson about respect and professionalism." Emily's eyes found mine as security led her past my desk. Tears streamed down her face. She mouthed, "I'm sorry," before disappearing into the elevator. I sat frozen, rage building inside me like a volcano about to erupt. That evening, I found Emily at her apartment, surrounded by boxes. She was already packing. "I can't believe he did this," she said, wiping her eyes. "I had evidence. Sam, proof that he's been stealing from clients for years. And he just fired me like I was nothing." I held her while she cried. We'd been together for 2 years, working at the same marketing firm. Emily was passionate, outspoken, always fighting for what was right. I was quieter, more cautious. I kept my head down and did my work. "We'll figure this out. I promised. There has to be something we can do." But even as I said it, I felt helpless. Mr. Parker was untouchable. He had connections throughout the industry, friends in high places, and enough money to make problems disappear. Emily had been the voice of reason in our office. She challenged bad decisions, questioned unethical practices, and stood up for junior employees who were too scared to speak. Now she was gone, and the office would go back to its toxic normal. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Mr. Parker's smug face as Emily was escorted out. The injustice burned in my chest. Around 3 a.m., I got up and started searching online. I typed Jonathan Parker into Google and started digging through his background. There was a gap in his employment history. 3 years unaccounted for between 2015 and 2018. That was strange for someone so prominent. The next morning, I left for work early and took a different route. There was a homeless man who usually sat outside our building, asking for spare change. I'd seen him dozens of times, but never stopped to talk. Today, something made me pause. I bought him coffee and a breakfast sandwich. "Thank you, son," he said, his weathered face breaking into a smile. Not many people stop anymore. We talked for a few minutes. His name was Walter. He'd lost his job years ago and never recovered. As I turned to leave, he grabbed my arm gently. "You look troubled. Whatever you're dealing with, remember this. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. Power only respects power." His words were cryptic, but oddly specific. "How did you know I'm dealing with something?" Walter smiled knowingly. "I see things. And I see a young man who's angry about injustice. Be smart about how you fight back." I walked away confused. How could a homeless stranger know what was happening in my life? But his words stuck with me all day. Fight fire with fire. Power only respects power. That evening, I went to Emily's apartment to help her pack. She was going through old work files she'd kept at home. "Sam, look at this," she said, holding up a folder. Inside were printed emails between Mr. Parker and various clients. The timestamps and content suggested financial irregularities I didn't fully understand, but it was clearly suspicious. The emails Emily had saved were explosive. They showed Mr. Parker routing client funds through personal accounts, inflating project costs, and pocketing the difference. Some emails referenced offshore accounts. Others mentioned our arrangement, with people whose names I didn't recognize. I've been collecting this for months. Emily explained. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't have enough proof to take to authorities. Why didn't you tell me? She looked away. Because I didn't want you involved. Parker's dangerous. Sam. I thought I could handle it myself. I photographed every document with my phone. As I was finishing, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Hello. Silence. Then a click. The line went dead. Who was it? Emily asked. I don't know. They hung up. A chill ran down my spine. The timing felt too coincidental. Someone knew we had these documents. Over the next few days, I started noticing things. A black sedan parked across from my apartment. The same man in a gray suit appearing in coffee shops I frequented. I told myself I was being paranoid, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger. At work, Mr. Parker was his usual arrogant self. He'd hired Emily's replacement within 2 days, a young woman fresh out of college who wouldn't question anything. During a team meeting, he made a pointed comment about loyalty and knowing one's place. His eyes landed on me when he said it. He knew Emily and I were together. Was he warning me? I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching my investigation. I'd started compiling Emily's documents with my own research into Mr. Parker's background. That's when I received an email from an anonymous address. We know what you're doing. Be careful. Parker has eyes everywhere. If you want justice for Emily, you'll need help. Don't respond to this email. We'll contact you. My hands trembled as I read it. Who sent this? How did they know? I showed Emily. She looked frightened. Sam, maybe we should stop. If someone's watching you, this is getting dangerous. We can't stop now. He destroyed your career. He's stealing from clients. Someone has to expose him. That evening at work, the gossip started. People whispered about Emily's firing, creating stories that painted her as unstable and emotional. Mr. Parker's version of events was spreading. He'd told senior management that Emily had been stealing company secrets to sell to competitors. The lie was vicious and calculated. I wanted to defend her, but knew that speaking up would make me his next target. Instead, I kept gathering evidence. I accessed old company files, looking for patterns in Mr. Parker's projects. I found dozens of instances where budgets didn't match actual expenses, millions of dollars unaccounted for over 5 years. This wasn't just unethical. It was criminal fraud on a massive scale. The question was how to expose it without getting destroyed in the process. I was having coffee at my usual morning spot when Walter, the homeless man, appeared. Except he wasn't dressed like a homeless person anymore. He wore clean clothes and carried a leather messenger bag. Sam, isn't it? He said, sitting down without invitation. We need to talk. I stared at him, confused. Walter? What's going on? My name is actually Mitch, and I'm not homeless. I've been watching you because I know what you're trying to do with Parker. My heart raced. You're the one who sent the email? Mitch nodded. I worked for Parker 5 years ago. He destroyed my career when I discovered his fraud scheme. Since then, I've been building a case against him, waiting for the right moment. He slid a business card across the table. Mitchell Bronson, private investigator. Parker's corruption runs deeper than financial fraud. He's connected to people who make problems disappear permanently. You need professional help. Why should I trust you? Because Emily isn't his first victim. There have been others. People who spoke up and had their lives ruined. I have their testimonies, their evidence, everything, but I needed someone on the inside who had access to current documents. That's you. Mitch explained that he'd been monitoring Mr. Parker's employees, looking for someone brave enough to stand up to him. When Emily confronted Parker, Mitch knew she'd be fired. He'd been waiting to approach me. There's a storage unit downtown. Unit 247. Here's the key. Everything I've collected is there. But Sam, you need to understand the risk. If Parker finds out what we're doing, we won't just lose our jobs. The storage unit was in a rundown facility on the edge of town. I waited until after dark to visit, paranoid about being followed. Inside Unit 247, I found filing cabinets filled with documents, photographs, and recordings. Mitch had been thorough. There were pictures of Parker meeting with known criminals, bank statements showing offshore account transfers, testimony from 3 former employees who'd been fired after discovering his schemes. One folder was labeled "The Real Jonathan Parker." Inside, I found his actual background. He'd changed his name from Jonathan Parkins in 2015 after being investigated for fraud at his previous company. The charges had been dropped due to insufficient evidence, but the investigation details were damning. He'd stolen over $2 million from clients before disappearing and reinventing himself. "He's done this before," Mitch said, appearing behind me. I jumped. "How did you get in?" "I still have a key." "Listen, Sam, this evidence is powerful, but we need to be strategic. If we expose too much too quickly, his lawyers will bury everything in legal delays and technicalities. So what do? We build an airtight case. Then we expose him in a way he can't fight, publicly, dramatically, and with multiple witnesses." Mitch explained his plan. We needed one more piece of evidence. A smoking gun that directly connected Parker to his current fraud. Something recent that couldn't be explained away. "I think I know where to find it," I said, thinking about the company's financial server. "But accessing it will be risky." My co-worker Mark cornered me in the break room the next day. "Sam, people are talking. They're saying you're digging into Parker's business. That's career suicide, man." Mark had been my friend since I started at the company. He was practical, cautious, everything I usually was. "I'm just trying to help Emily," I said carefully. "Emily's gone. You need to let it go. Parker's untouchable. He has friends in city government, connections with the mayor's office. People who've tried to take him down have lost everything. Jobs, reputations, some even face legal action. So we just let him keep stealing and destroying lives?" Mark sighed. "I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying be realistic. You're one person against a man with unlimited resources." His words hit hard because they echoed my own doubts. Was I being naive? Could I really take down someone as powerful as Parker? That evening, Emily's mother called me. Mrs. Chun had always treated me like family. "Sam, Emily told me what you're trying to do. Please be careful. But also, thank you. She's devastated about losing her job. Knowing someone believes her means everything." Her gratitude renewed my determination. This wasn't just about Emily anymore. It was about stopping Parker before he destroyed more lives. That night, I made my decision. I would access the company's financial server, download the evidence we needed, and help Mitch build the case. The risk was enormous, but the alternative was letting a criminal continue operating with impunity. I was working late at the office when a delivery arrived at my desk. The courier said it was marked urgent for me personally. Inside the plain brown box was a single sheet of paper. "Time to stop hiding. We know you're watching." No signature. No return address. My blood ran cold. I immediately called Mitch. "Someone knows what we're doing." "Stay calm," he said. "Parker's trying to intimidate you. Don't let him succeed." "How do I know you're not working for him? This all feels like a trap." Mitch was quiet for a moment. "Meet me tomorrow morning. Bring Emily. I'll show you something that will prove I'm on your side." I left the office immediately, looking over my shoulder constantly. The black sedan was back, parked across the street. When I walked toward it, the car drove away quickly. At home, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Was my apartment bugged? Were they listening to my phone calls? The paranoia was overwhelming. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Drop this investigation or face consequences." I screenshot the message and sent it to Mitch. He responded immediately. "They're escalating because they're scared. We're getting close. Don't back down now." But doubt crept in. What if Mitch was wrong? What if Parker was too powerful to take down? What if this ended with me and Emily both destroyed? I thought about Mark's warning, about the practical choice being to walk away. Then I thought about Emily's tears as security escorted her out, about the other victims Mitch had mentioned, about justice. The invitation arrived at my home 3 days later. Expensive cardstock, embossed lettering. Mr. Jonathan Parker requests the pleasure of your company at an exclusive dinner celebrating 5 years of success. The event will honor our most valuable team members and discuss exciting opportunities for advancement. My name was handwritten at the top. Why would Parker invite me to an exclusive dinner? I was a mid-level employee with no special status. I showed the invitation to Mitch and Emily. It's a trap, Emily said immediately. He knows you're investigating him. He's trying to figure out how much you know. But Mitch saw it differently. Or it's an opportunity. Parker is arrogant. He thinks he's untouchable. If we play this right, you can gather information directly from the source. What kind of information? Listen to conversations. See who he's really connected to. Parker does his real business at these events, away from the office. You might overhear something crucial. The dinner was in 4 days. I had to decide whether to attend. If I go, I need be wired, I said. We need to record everything. Mitch smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. We spent the next 3 days preparing. Mitch provided a tiny recording device that looked like a pen. He coached me on what to listen for, what questions to ask casually, how to stay calm under pressure. Emily was against the whole plan. Sam, this is too dangerous. What if he confronts you? What if something goes wrong? Then we'll have evidence of that too. Either way, we move forward. The night before the dinner, I barely ate. My stomach churned with anxiety and anticipation. The dinner was at the city's most exclusive restaurant. I arrived to find 50 people already there, all senior employees and executives. The room screamed wealth and power. Crystal chandeliers, imported wine, a menu with no prices. Mr. Parker stood at the center, holding court like a king among his subjects. When he saw me, his eyes narrowed slightly before he smiled. Sam, glad you could make it. Help yourself to drinks. The evening was surreal. I moved through conversations, my recording pen capturing everything. Most people discussed normal business. But then I overheard Parker talking to 2 men I didn't recognize. The Henderson account should clear by next week, Parker said quietly. Route it through the usual channels. Keep the documentation minimal. One man nodded. And the building permit situation? Handled. The inspector's been convinced to overlook certain issues. They were discussing bribes, building code violations. I kept my face neutral, pretending to examine the appetizers nearby. Later, Parker gave a speech about loyalty and success. We've built something special here, he announced. A company where hard work and dedication are rewarded, where those who follow the rules prosper. The hypocrisy was stunning. He was praising values he violated daily. After the speech, Parker approached me directly. Sam, I want to talk about your future here. You've been with us 3 years. Steady, reliable, never causing problems. Those are qualities I value. Thank you, sir. Not like some people. People who think they know better than management. People who forget their place. He was talking about Emily. Loyalty matters, Sam. Remember that. After the dinner, Mitch listened to the recording with intense focus. This is good, but it's not enough. We need direct evidence of financial crimes, not just suspicious conversations. That's when I received an encrypted message on my phone. The sender's identity was masked, but the message was clear. We have what you need. Parker's offshore account numbers. Transaction records showing exactly where client money went. Proof of bribes to city officials. Meet us at the address below tomorrow at midnight. Come alone. I showed Mitch. His expression darkened. This will be legitimate or a trap. Parker might be trying to catch you taking information from unknown sources. Or it could be someone else who wants him exposed. Another victim. Either way, going alone is dangerous. Then follow me at a distance. If something goes wrong, you'll know. The next night, I drove to an abandoned warehouse on the industrial side of town. Every instinct screamed this was a mistake. But curiosity and desperation pushed me forward. I parked and walked toward the building, my phone recording everything. A figure emerged from the shadows. I couldn't see their face clearly. Who are you? I called out. Someone who worked for Parker longer than you. Someone who knows where all the bodies are buried, figuratively speaking. The figure handed me a USB drive. Everything you need is here. Bank records, emails, recorded phone calls. But be warned, using this information will destroy Parker. It will also put a target on your back. Why are you helping me? Because someone has to stop him, and you're brave enough or stupid enough to try. The figure disappeared before I could ask more questions. I stood alone with the USB drive, wondering if I'd just made a terrible mistake. I met Mitch at a secure location to review the USB drive contents. What we found was devastating. Detailed records of Parker stealing over $7 million from clients over 5 years. Proof of bribes to city officials, including the building inspector and 2 city council members. Evidence of blackmail against former employees who discovered his crimes. But as we dug deeper, I found something that made me sick. There was a file labeled contingency plans. Inside were dossiers on several employees, including me and Emily. Parker had been investigating us, collecting information about our personal lives, our finances, our families. He knew we were coming. I said, feeling violated. He's been preparing. Mitch's face was grim. There's something else. Look at this file. It was labeled M. Bronson. Inside were detailed records of Mitch's investigation into Parker, his surveillance notes, his contact with former victims, everything. He knows about you, I said. He's known the whole time. Mitch stood up, pacing. Then why hasn't he stopped us? Because he thinks he's untouchable. Or because he's waiting to see how much we know before deciding how to handle us. A knock at the door made us both jump. Mitch checked the security camera feed. It was Mark, my coworker. What's he doing here? Mitch asked. I don't know. I never told him about this location. Mark knocked again, more urgently. Against Mitch's advice, I opened the door. Mark rushed in, looking terrified. Sam, you need to stop. Now. Parker knows everything. He's planning to frame you for embezzling company funds. He's got documents, fake bank accounts in your name, everything. You'll be arrested within days unless you drop this. Mark's warning sent my investigation into crisis mode. If Parker was planning to frame me, we had days at most before everything collapsed. How do you know this? I demanded. Mark looked at Mitch nervously. Because Parker tried to recruit me to help. He wanted me to testify that I'd seen you accessing accounts you shouldn't have, taking client information. I said no, and he threatened my job. Why should we trust you? Mitch asked, his tone suspicious. Because Sam's my friend, and because what Parker's doing is wrong. I was too scared to help before, but framing someone for crimes he committed? That's too far. I believed him. Mark had always been cautious, not malicious. Over the next 2 days, we worked frantically. Mitch contacted a journalist he trusted, someone with experience exposing corporate corruption. I compiled all the evidence into a comprehensive report. Emily helped organize everything, creating timelines and documentation that would be impossible to dispute. But the pressure was building. The black sedan appeared everywhere I went. My apartment was broken into, though nothing was taken. They were sending a message. During this chaos, I discovered something that changed everything. Hidden in Parker's contingency files was evidence of something much bigger. Parker wasn't just stealing from clients. He was part of a larger network, moving money for criminal organizations. Money laundering on a massive scale. This isn't just corporate fraud, Mitch said, reviewing the evidence. This is organized crime. We need to involve the FBI. If we do that, this gets taken out of our hands. Parker could disappear before justice happens. Or we could all end up dead. The weight of what we'd uncovered was crushing. We'd stumbled into something far more dangerous than I'd imagined. My phone rang from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mr. Thompson, my name is Agent Rivera. I'm with the FBI's White Collar Crime Division. I need to meet with you urgently regarding Jonathan Parker. My heart stopped. How did you get this number? We've been investigating Parker for 8 months. We know you've been gathering evidence on him. We need to coordinate before you do something that compromises our investigation. The meeting was arranged for the next morning at a federal building downtown. Mitch advised caution. Federal investigations move slowly. If they want you to stop, don't agree. We're too close. Agent Rivera was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and no-nonsense demeanor. She showed me her credentials, then got straight to business. We know about Parker's money laundering operation. We know about his theft from clients. We've been building a RICO case that will not only destroy him but dismantle the entire criminal network he's part of. Then why haven't you arrested him? Because we need to catch everyone involved simultaneously. If we move on Parker alone, the others disappear. Your investigation, while admirable, could alert them that we're closing in. She asked me to stop, to hand over my evidence, and let the FBI handle everything. How long will that take? I asked. Months. Maybe a year. And what happens to the people he's stealing from right now? What happens when he frames me for embezzlement? We can protect you. Can you protect Emily? Mitch? Everyone else he's targeted. Agent Rivera was quiet. I can't make promises. I made a decision that might have been incredibly stupid or incredibly brave. I'm exposing him publicly. Soon, your investigation can continue, but I won't let him destroy more lives while you build your case. The confrontation with Parker was inevitable. I scheduled a meeting with him, using the pretense of discussing my career advancement. He agreed immediately, probably thinking he could intimidate or threaten me directly. I wore Mitch's recording device. Emily and Mitch waited outside the building, ready to intervene if something went wrong. Parker's office was impressive. Floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive art, a desk that probably cost more than my car. Sam, come in. I've been wanting to talk to you. I sat down, my heart pounding. I want to discuss some concerns I have about company finances. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Concerns? That's interesting. What kind of concerns? Discrepancies between reported project costs and actual expenses. Client funds that don't seem to reach their intended accounts. Offshore transactions that aren't properly documented. The temperature in the room dropped. Parker's friendly facade disappeared completely. Those are serious accusations. Baseless, false, and potentially libelous accusations. You should be very careful, Sam. I have evidence. Evidence? He laughed coldly. You mean the files you've been stealing? The information you've been illegally accessing? Because I have evidence too. Evidence that you've been embezzling from company accounts. Evidence that you've been selling client information to competitors. Evidence that will put you in prison. You're lying. Am I? We'll see what the police think when I turn over my documentation tomorrow morning. Unless, of course, you want to reconsider this conversation. Drop whatever crusade Emily has convinced you to pursue, and we can forget this ever happened. I stood up. You destroyed Emily's career. You've been stealing from clients for years. It's over, Parker. His eyes went cold. You have no idea who you're dealing with, boy. I will bury you. That night, Mitch revealed something that changed the entire game. I haven't been completely honest with you, Sam. I'm not just a private investigator who used to work for Parker. What do you mean? I used to be an FBI agent. I was investigating Parker 5 years ago when he destroyed my career by planting evidence that I'd accepted bribes. I was forced to resign to avoid prosecution. Everything was a lie, but it ruined me. He showed me documents proving his story. I've been building this case personally because the FBI wouldn't touch it. Parker had protection from someone high up in the Bureau. But things have changed. Agent Rivera is legitimate. She's part of a new task force specifically created to take down the network Parker works for. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I needed to know if you were committed to seeing this through. Too many people quit when they realize how dangerous it gets. But you've proven yourself. Mitch had contacts I didn't know about. Resources from his former life. Parker's network extends beyond corporate fraud. The criminal organization he launders money for is responsible for drug trafficking, human smuggling, extortion. Taking down Parker means potentially dismantling a major criminal enterprise. The scope was overwhelming. There's something else, Mitch continued. Parker's planning something big. A major money movement in 3 days. If we expose him before that happens, we can freeze his assets and catch everyone involved in the act. How do we do that? Mitch smiled grimly. Parker's being honored at a charity gala in 2 days. 500 people, including city officials, business leaders, and media. That's where we make our move. Preparing for the gala required perfect coordination. Mitch contacted Agent Rivera, who reluctantly agreed to support our plan if we could guarantee we wouldn't compromise the larger investigation. Emily helped compile the evidence into a presentation that was undeniable. The USB drive's contents, Parker's contingency files, recorded conversations from the dinner, bank records showing exactly where stolen money went. Everything organized and documented professionally. This is going to destroy him, Emily said, looking at the final compilation. Not just his career, his life. He destroyed yours first. I reminded her, and tried to destroy mine, and countless others. The night before the gala, I couldn't sleep. Every scenario ran through my mind. What if Parker's security stopped me before I could present the evidence? What if he had the police arrest me on fake charges? What if his connections were powerful enough to suppress everything even after public exposure? Mark called around midnight. Sam, be careful tomorrow. People are talking about something big happening at the gala. Parker's on edge. He's hired extra security. Thanks for the warning. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. You're doing what I was too scared to do. The next morning, Mitch gave me a final briefing. I'll be in the crowd with Agent Rivera and her team. The moment you present the evidence, we'll have federal agents ready to take Parker into custody. But you have to get the evidence out publicly first. Once it's in front of 500 witnesses and media cameras, it can't be suppressed. What if he tries to stop me? Don't let him. The charity gala was at the city's most prestigious hotel. I'd never been somewhere so luxurious. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, people wearing jewelry that cost more than my annual salary. Parker was a star of the evening, being honored for his charitable contributions and business excellence. The irony was sickening. I arrived with Emily, both of us dressed in borrowed formal wear. We mingled awkwardly, trying to blend in among people who belonged in this world. I spotted Mitch across the room, nodding subtly. Agent Rivera was nearby with 3 other people I recognized as federal agents from our meeting. The pressure was enormous. My hands shook as I waited for the right moment. The program included speeches, awards, and a silent auction. Parker would give his acceptance speech around 8:30 p.m. That's when I'd make my move. Are you sure about this? Emily whispered. Once you do this, there's no going back. I've never been more sure of anything. At 8:15, the MC began introducing Parker. The crowd applauded as he walked to the stage, looking confident and powerful in his custom suit. He smiled warmly, every inch a successful philanthropist and business leader. Thank you for this incredible honor, he began. I've spent my career trying to build not just a successful business, but a legacy of integrity and service to our community. I felt sick listening to his lies. Business isn't just about profit, he continued. It's about trust, about building relationships with clients and employees based on honesty and mutual respect. That's when I stood up. Mr. Parker, I have a question about integrity. I called out, my voice carrying across the silent ballroom. 500 heads turned toward me. Security started moving in my direction, but I kept talking. Could you explain how stealing $7 million from clients demonstrates integrity? The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Parker's face went from confused to furious in seconds. Security, remove this man immediately. Or how bribing city officials shows respect. I continued, pulling out my phone. I have evidence right here. Bank records, emails, recorded phone calls, all proving that Jonathan Parker has been running a criminal enterprise disguised as a legitimate business. Security guards reached me, grabbing my arms, but Mitch and Agent Rivera were already moving. FBI, nobody move. Agent Rivera shouted, flashing her badge. The room exploded into chaos. People screaming, security confused, cameras flashing everywhere. Agent Rivera and her team moved toward the stage. Jonathan Parker, you're under arrest for money laundering, fraud, and racketeering. Parker tried to run, but agents blocked every exit. I held up my phone, projecting the evidence onto the large screens that had been showing his honorific video. Bank records filled the screens, emails detailing illegal transactions, photos of Parker meeting with known criminals. The evidence was irrefutable and now displayed for everyone to see. Media cameras captured everything. The carefully crafted image Parker had spent years building crumbled in minutes. I felt Emily's hand squeeze mine as we watched him being handcuffed on stage. Justice, finally. As federal agents led Parker away, a man approached me through chaos. He was older, distinguished, wearing an expensive suit that marked him as someone important. "Mr. Thompson, I'm Harrison Mitchell. I used to be Jonathan Parker's business partner." My guard went up immediately. "If you're here to threaten me, quite the opposite. I'm here to thank you." He explained that he'd been Parker's partner 15 years ago, before Parker became Jonathan Parker. He was Jonathan Parkins then. We built a company together. Then I discovered he was stealing from clients. When I tried to expose him, he destroyed me, framed me for crimes he committed. I lost everything. My business, my reputation, my family. Harrison had been feeding information to Mitch for years. I'm the one who sent the USB drive. I've been collecting evidence against Parker since he destroyed my life, waiting for the right moment to strike back. The mysterious benefactor finally revealed. "Why didn't you come forward yourself?" "Because I didn't have access to current evidence. Parker made sure I could never work in this industry again. But you, working inside his company, you could get the documentation I couldn't." "Mitch knew about this?" "Mitch and I have been working together for 3 years. Everything you discovered, we helped guide you toward. But the courage to actually confront Parker, that was all you." I felt manipulated and validated simultaneously. They'd use me, but for a good cause. Around us, the gala had devolved into complete chaos. Media swarmed, trying to get statements. Federal agents cleared the room. Parker's associates tried to flee before being detained for questioning. The next morning, the story was everywhere. Prominent businessmen arrested on federal charges. FBI breaks up multi-million-dollar fraud ring. Young employee exposes corporate crime at charity gala. My phone rang constantly. Media requests, interview offers, even job opportunities from companies impressed by my integrity. But the most important call came from Emily. "Sam, you did it. You actually did it." Her voice cracked with emotion. "We did it. Your evidence started everything." "No, you finished it. You stood up in front of 500 people and told the truth, knowing it could destroy your career. That took incredible courage." The fallout continued for weeks. Federal investigators found evidence linking Parker to a criminal organization that was subsequently dismantled. 7 other business executives were arrested. 2 city officials resigned amid corruption investigations. The company I'd worked for faced its own reckoning. New management took over, committed to rebuilding the business ethically. They offered me a position as Director of Compliance. Mark got promoted too, finally recognized for his steady integrity. Most satisfying was what happened to the victims. Clients who'd been defrauded received restitution from Parker's seized assets. Former employees he destroyed, including Harrison Mitchell and Mitch, had their reputations restored. Emily was offered her job back with back pay and a formal apology. She declined, having already accepted a position at a competitor who valued her outspokenness. "I'm done working for people who don't appreciate honesty," she said. "I'm starting my own consulting firm, helping companies build ethical cultures." It was perfect for her. 3 months after the gala, my life had transformed completely. The Director of Compliance role gave me real power to prevent the kind of corruption Parker had perpetuated. I implemented new oversight systems, whistleblower protections, and ethics training. The company was healing, slowly rebuilding trust with clients and the community. But the personal transformation was more profound. I'd always been a quiet one, the person who kept his head down and avoided conflict. Confronting Parker had forced me to find a voice I didn't know I had. That voice led me to opportunities I'd never imagined. I was invited to speak at a business ethics conference, sharing my story with hundreds of future business leaders. The response was overwhelming. Young people approached me afterward, thanking me for proving that standing up to corruption was possible. I'm dealing with something similar at my company. One young woman told me, "Your story gives me courage to speak up." That conversation led to an idea. With Emily's help, I created a nonprofit organization called Voice for Justice. Our mission was to support employees who witness workplace corruption, providing legal resources, documentation guidance, and emotional support. We partner with law firms offering pro bono services and connected whistleblowers with investigative journalists and law enforcement. Mitch joined as our chief investigator, using his FBI experience to help people gather evidence properly. Harris and Mitchell provided funding, finally able to use his resources for good. Within 6 months, we helped 12 people expose corruption at their companies. Mark volunteered evenings, using his accounting skills to help people understand financial irregularities they'd witnessed. The work was challenging but deeply meaningful. Every person we helped felt like another victory over the culture of silence that had protected people like Parker for too long. Emily's consulting firm partnered with ours, creating comprehensive programs for companies wanting to build ethical cultures. Together, we were changing the corporate landscape one company at a time. My family was proud, though my mother still worried about the risks. "Sam, what if you make powerful enemies again? Then I'll deal with them the way I dealt with Parker, with truth and courage." The fear that had once paralyzed me was gone, replaced by confidence born from standing up when it mattered most. The most rewarding moment came 6 months after Parker's arrest. Emily called me to her office with exciting news. "Sam, I just got off the phone with HR at our old company. They want to create a permanent ethics oversight committee, and they want us to help design it." We spent weeks developing a comprehensive system, independent auditors, anonymous reporting channels, and most importantly, protections for employees who raise concerns. No more retaliation for speaking truth to power. The company hired back 3 other employees Parker had fired over the years for questioning his practices. Each one received formal apologies and compensation for damage to their careers. One of them was a woman named Sandra, who'd been fired 4 years earlier for questioning budget irregularities. "I thought I was alone," she told me during a coffee meeting. "I thought speaking up had ruined my life. Knowing that you finished what I started means everything." Her words hit me hard. We weren't just exposing one corrupt person. We were validating every person who'd ever been punished for doing the right thing. Emily and I also made sure the junior employees, the ones too scared to speak up, received ethics training that emphasized their rights and responsibilities. "You're not just following orders," I told a room full of new hires during one training session. "You're responsible for the integrity of your own actions. And this company now has systems to protect you when you speak up." The culture was changing. People were asking questions, challenging suspicious practices, and most importantly, feeling safe doing so. Emily's firm was thriving, with clients seeking her expertise in building ethical workplace cultures. My nonprofit was expanding, opening chapters in 3 other cities. I'm writing this from my office at Voice for Justice, looking at a wall covered with thank you notes from people we've helped. It's been a year since I stood up at that charity gala and exposed Jonathan Parker's corruption. Parker himself is serving a 15-year federal prison sentence. His appeals have been denied. The criminal network he was part of has been dismantled, with dozens of people facing justice. The money he stole has been returned to victims. But the story isn't really about Parker's downfall. It's about finding the courage to stand up when everything inside you says to stay silent. It's about the power of truth when people are brave enough to speak it. And it's about how one person's courage can inspire others to find their own voice. Emily and I are still together, stronger than ever. We talk sometimes about that day she confronted Parker, how it set everything in motion. "I was terrified," she admits, "but I couldn't stay silent anymore. I was terrified, too," I tell her, "every single day of the investigation, but I couldn't let him win." The lesson I've learned is that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite fear, because something matters more than your own comfort. Justice matters. Truth matters. Protecting others from harm matters. Mitch told me something profound recently. "Sam, when I lost my FBI career, I thought my life was over. But helping you take down Parker gave me a new purpose. Sometimes our greatest defeats lead to our most meaningful victories. He's right. Emily's firing led to exposing a criminal enterprise and creating organizations that protect others. Parker's attempt to destroy us became the catalyst for his own destruction. The universe has a way of balancing scales, but only if people are willing to fight for that balance. Last week, I received a letter from a young man in Seattle. He'd witnessed fraud at his company and used our nonprofit's resources to expose it. His boss was arrested, and dozens of victims received restitution. "Your story gave me courage," he wrote. "Thank you for proving that the truth wins." That letter is now framed on my wall, next to Emily's first consulting contract and a photo from the gala showing the moment Parker was arrested. These mementos remind me why we do this work. Not for recognition or revenge, but because integrity matters. Because people deserve workplaces where speaking truth doesn't end careers. Because the next person facing corruption needs to know they're not alone. If you're reading this and facing something similar, know that your voice matters. Your truth matters. You have more power than you think. And there are people ready to help you stand up. The corrupt rely on silence and fear to maintain their power. When we break that silence, when we choose courage over comfort, we break their power too. That's the real victory. Not watching Parker lose everything, but knowing that his downfall created a world where the next Emily won't face retaliation alone, where the next person who speaks up will have support, resources, and protection. Parker taught me something valuable through his corruption, that systems only change when people refuse to accept injustice, that evil prospers when good people stay silent. That one person standing up can inspire dozens more to find their courage. Emily and I often talk about what we tell our younger selves, the versions of us who were too scared to challenge authority. I tell myself that temporary fear is worth permanent integrity, Emily says. I tell myself that the people who seem untouchable are often the most vulnerable to truth. That power built on lies crumbles quickly when light shines on it. To everyone who doubted me, who called me naive for taking on someone as powerful as Parker, you were wrong. Not because I'm special, but because truth is more powerful than corruption when people have the courage to wield it. And to Parker, wherever you are in federal prison, thank you. Thank you for being so arrogant that you thought you could destroy Emily without consequences. Thank you for underestimating the power of one person's determination to seek justice. Your downfall became my life's purpose. Share this story if you believe in speaking truth to power. If you've ever witnessed corruption and wondered if one person could make a difference, the answer is yes. You can, and you should, because justice doesn't happen by accident. It happens when people refuse to stay silent.